From Bravery Media, this is Appendix B. My name is Joel Goodman. With me is Kristen Van Dorn. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Joel. How's it going?
Things are going fine. Trucking along, headed into the middle of this year, as we're recording this anyway. What do you want to talk about today?
So I think today we're going to talk about AI and using large language models in your content strategy.
Oh, yeah. This is a great idea, right? Everyone should be doing this and writing all of their content with AI.
Oh, my gosh. No.
No, but that's what all of the vendors online have been telling us to do for the last, 7 months or more. But no, you're right.
I think there has been such an excitement about large language models and the possibility that they could either supplant writing jobs or they could supplement writing jobs, in the sense that it's really easy to put in a prompt and spit back relatively professional sounding content. And in a time when writers feel busy, when it's been hard to read and audit our websites, it seemed like, well, this is a solution, a stopgap, in order to make sure that we have the content that we need available.
So why wouldn't we do it, though? No, I think you're right. And I'm not sure that I'm convinced that institutions are already all in on outsourcing all of their content. But I do see this curiosity plus, right? This sense that it's going to be technology that does supplant the way that we've done content for ever and ever and ever, which is hopefully you do some strategy work and you do some research, and then you have someone write the content, and then you have someone proof the content, and then the content goes out. And it takes time, sure, but man, these AI tools, you can just tell it to write a thing and it writes a thing. I don't know that we ever should be trusting all of our content production to large language models.
Yeah, well, I think that there's a lot of misunderstandings about large language models. In some sense, people talk about large language models as being sort of the average of our content. So if we ask, can you write, say, an about page for college, use this source material and put it in this voice and tone for this audience with these key messages being prioritized, right? Something like that, if your prompt is sophisticated. The thing is that I think we have this vision that it's scanning a bunch of websites and going, okay, these 47 websites, the next word that they use after their mission is this, and they're sort of predicting based on an average, right? And I don't think it's necessarily an average that they're creating, but I also don't think that they're creating quality content that's thoughtful and that's designed specifically to the user experience that you're trying to cultivate. I just don't think that they're sophisticated enough at this moment in time to really capture what a 17-year-old is looking for in terms of a directed content experience.
I think one of the deficiencies, too, is that there aren't many colleges and universities right now that have trained their own, they call them RAGs, right? Their own offshoots of these LLMs. And I'm not talking about taking ChatGPT from OpenAI and creating a custom GPT, because that's kind of it, but not really. The way to do this properly, the way that all of these companies that are coming out with their own chat interfaces and their own LLMs, they're taking an offshoot of the version, and then they are training it separately on their own data sets apart from everything else. And they're usually doing this not on OpenAI's platform. They're doing it on Amazon Web Services or somewhere else. I don't know of any institutions apart from maybe Harvard, MIT, that kind of level, that have done these internally. And so what you run into is you're asking a generic commercial platform, a product, to write content for you without any background as to what your institution is, apart from it understanding in its technical way what it's read from your website, if it's even scanned in the first place. Asking it to write something that is going to resonate with your audience, and unless you put a lot of copy editing work into it, that content isn't really going to be fit for achieving your goals at all. And I think part of that is the issue. Kristen, you've seen this when you've played around with it. You ask it to write some website content for a certain page, and all you get is the term a vibrant community over and over and over again, right? And I've heard actually that same thing from other people. Like the exact same phrase, vibrant community, comes out. This indicates that there is something in there that is more generic than we might want or expect from our own content. And I think underestimating the amount of work that would go into making that kind of pre-written, canned, predictive content work for us in a good way is dangerous. We do underestimate that a lot.
Yeah. One thing that I've heard a few times is that people want to use generated AI content to serve as a first draft.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think a first draft is how we determine what it is we think belongs in web content. So we're outsourcing the actual thinking. And then we're putting ourselves in the role of editing mediocre content, or maybe it's better than mediocre, maybe it's average, but we haven't put in the hard thinking to determine if it's the right content, even if it sounds relatively smooth, if it looks like it directs you to the right places on the site along your user journey. I think we still have to ask ourselves the bare question of, is this the proper way to start this process and identifying what it is a user needs in this specific space and time on your website?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I've learned over the last year that AI works better for me when I apply it to something that's already been created. Like I create something and then I say like, hey, tell me what I could do better with this. That's not to say that it can't work the other way around, but I do think that, to your point, like it's not just a, hey, you figure out the thing that I want to write. You need to do that work. I don't think that work necessarily has to be writing an entire full draft, but it does at least have to be figuring out, these are the key points in this order with this sort of tone. It's really fleshing it out and giving the LLM some sort of, like art direction or creative direction to go in. And even then, you're still going to have to go back and edit it. I think you'll get better than mediocre at that point, or at least, like reasonably good. But I think what I've seen and what I've heard from most people is that they don't start at that point. They basically just say like, I need a thing about this. And they give it like a link to somewhere, and ask it to just write a first draft and then go on from that. And you'll get content. You won't get good content though.
No. The way that I would want to approach it is a little bit like, I'm not sure if you've seen the snowflake method in writing a novel, where you start off with the basic story outline, and it can be as short as 6 sentences, but you hit the major points that you want to take place in your story. And then you take each one of those points and you start to flesh out the details. And then you flesh out the details of what has to happen in order for these story points to make sense along a hero's journey. And then you go deeper and more descriptive. And each level, you're making your story more fulfilling, more structured, more connected, and you're giving your audience the details that they need. So I think when you think about your student user journey, what you want to think about is the information they need along that journey, where they are in that journey, and at what point you want to supply them with that information. And then you can start to work with either a GPT style large language model or other editing tools and features inside of AI that can give you some of those ways of filling out that detail. But what you want to be careful about is that they don't take over your user journey, because they could easily, if you're not feeding it in the correct information in the order that you want it across multiple pages, they can re-architect the structure and the journey that you're trying to send users on. And they can really change that user experience.
Appendix B is a production of Bravery Media. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a rating or a review on your podcast streaming service of choice. It helps other higher ed pros find us. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next time.